All right. Well, let's jump into Harry and Meghan. It's been just a year since those Radar Online reports that Harry and Meghan were taking time apart. That was last summer, where rumors were swirling that Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's marriage was on the rocks. Radar Online reported that Harry and Meghan were taking a break to heal and rebuild their bond. They're trying to figure out what hit them. Harry doesn't fit into Meghan's tacky Tinseltown world, a source told the outlet, adding that he's hoping to find himself. At the same time, Heat reported after a disastrous few months for the couple, we're told Meghan's feeling frustrated at her fall from grace, and Harry is in the firing line. Now, friends of Harry and Meghan told Page Six that the rumors weren't true, but Meghan was suspiciously absent throughout Prince Harry's promotion for his book, Spare. Heat reported Meghan can now see that whether it's fair or not, they are being viewed as these professional whiners. And it's not as simple as her distancing herself because she has to be seen as fully supportive of Harry. She's now regretting that she wasn't more hands-on or involved when he was putting his book together. Maureen, a year out, are H&M still seen as professional whiners?
Lindsay, I think the answer is a hard yes. So the Hollywood Reporter, I don't know if you saw this, but they just ran a really bruising story in which people on the inside of the industry have said that the town is over them, the industry is done with them, everything they have attempted to do is a failure. What was really interesting to me about this piece is Meghan is repped by Ari Emanuel, the head of WME. He's one of the most powerful people in Hollywood. He could have killed that story if he wanted to. He did not. And this story had devastating quotes like, she marches around like a little dictator in high heels. She's made grown men cry. She is a bully to work for. After reports that she tried to get the editor-in-chief, the co-editor-in-chief of the Hollywood Reporter, Mayor Rashawn, sacked, Rashawn said, guess what? Our source is on the inside and is still working for the Sussexes. So they have a traitor in their midst, which is just delicious. And WME also just threw a huge Emmys party last weekend. And guess who did not make the guest list? Harry and Meghan.
That's so true. Absolutely. And I have seen Harry and Meghan push back on that report. And I'm not criticizing some of the people I work with because it's somebody I know that reported that this individual said that they work in separate offices. So there's no dictator in heels marching around because they work in separate offices. And my argument to my friend that reported this would be, why would Harry and Meghan talk to a newer television station in the UK instead of acknowledging Access Hollywood, who reached out for comment when they did their piece on the Hollywood Reporter? Access Hollywood says, we reached out to the Sussexes for reaction and we didn't get one. Wouldn't it be in Harry and Meghan's best interest to fight these claims to Access Hollywood than to a UK media outlet, especially when we know that they hate the UK media?
For years, Meghan Markle's been framed as the misunderstood victim, the outsider who married into an outdated institution. But now, even Hollywood, the land of make-believe, is pulling the curtain back. The Hollywood Reporter just dropped a bomb, describing Meghan as a dictator in heels, someone who made staff cry and was impossible to work with. These aren't royal aides talking. These are LA professionals, PR veterans, production crews. And not one of them is defending her. Her agency, run by Ari Emanuel, did nothing to shut this story down. In the PR world, that's a massive red flag. It means they're no longer willing to go to bat for her.
I mean, that makes such complete sense. Why wouldn't they deny to an outlet that has a far greater reach, that covers the industry? And what is so rich is that Harry is now in New York City without Meghan. He's here for like 8 days. It's part of UN week. He just gave a speech this morning as part of the Clinton Global Initiative, speaking against the dangers of online bullying, one of their favorite causes, bullying. And this is what Meghan is accused of over and over and over. She's been accused of it since she was brought into the royal fold, since before she ever married Prince Harry. And they just lost their top, I believe, communications aide or CEO. He left after only 3 months in the top job. So this is a historical footprint that these two have been leaving. And it only sort of ratifies these claims that she is an irredeemable bully. And as the Hollywood Reporter noted, they said, Harry's actually kind of a nice guy, but he's just weak and an enabler, and he can't stand up to her. So it's already, we're sort of seeing this narrative of like, Harry's just sort of yet another victim here. And can he escape the grasp of Meghan and save himself? That's what I think. That's where I think they're putting the story. Yeah.
What a great transition. Although I'm going to stop you right there, because in Tom Bower's Revenge, it almost sounds like Meghan was a bully in her first marriage. The way she just throws her wedding ring in a FedEx box and ships it to her husband. And that's the way he finds out he's getting a divorce. Or the way, allegedly, according to Tom Bower, she was just kind of a terror on the set. She was working with a clothing company out of Toronto that I assume is like a Dillard's or a Macy's on her own little line. And she was a terror on the set when they had their photo shoots. He says she kept a lot of the pieces that she wasn't supposed to, that the stylist had brought to dress up her outfits. And, Suits just gave her this confidence that, I guess made her in her own mind justify treating people very, very small. But when you talk about Harry, the big escape, could that narrative be in motion? Again, this is last year when sources told Heat that the Sussexes' professional failures are something that caused tension inside the home. And the Rolling Stone magazine at the same time wrote a piece titled Meghan Markle and Prince Harry are in their flop era. Has there been any significant growth for the Sussexes professionally since that headline? That was one of the first liberal outlets that we actually saw tear into them.
Yeah, we've seen her stalled launch of American Riviera Orchard, which, she made the grand mistake, but I'm sure it was deliberate, of launching that video within hours of Kate Middleton's announcement that she had been diagnosed with cancer. Since then, she's run into trademarking issues. She can't name it American Riviera Orchard anymore. These amateur mistakes that were they able to attract and maintain top talent would not be plaguing them. And that sort of circles back to that anecdote that you were discussing from Bower's book, where she's doing this like low rent Canadian photo shoot, and she's being a monster to the people who are there to help her look good. You don't treat people like that, especially on your way up, because guess what? You're going to meet them on your way down, which is where her career trajectory is going. And I think Harry sees this writing on the wall, because he seems to be maneuvering his way back into the royal fold. Very soft launch, but definite steps taken. Currently, he's working without Meghan right now. He apparently, our reporting says that he has opened up lines of communication with King Charles again. He pulped the additional chapter he had prepared for the paperback release of Spare, which is out next month. He's going back to London later this month. And it seems as though he sees that the California experiment has been an abject failure. He does not fit in with her people, her chosen industry, her aspirations. Our reporting just days ago was that his closest friend in LA is his bodyguard.
And while Meghan is being roasted in LA, Prince Harry is suddenly showing up solo to everything. Kevin Costner's polo event? Harry went alone. NYC United Nations Week? Then, alone. What's the excuse? Well, Meghan was sick. But this is the same woman who attended every red carpet, panel and press launch when the cameras were rolling in 2021 to 2022. Now that the headlines are bad, suddenly she's invisible. That's not illness, that's strategy.
Does it get more grim than that?
your best friend on the payroll. Well, let's talk about the latest with Harry and Meghan, because, reflecting on what happened last year, it is bizarre to me that we're seeing some similarities. Not on my 2024 bingo card, but over the weekend, Prince Harry went to an A-list packed event without Meghan Markle in sight. You and I know that Meghan's number one objective since she was a little girl was to be accepted in Hollywood, to have A-list stars know her name, to acknowledge her. It's not only rare to see Harry and Meghan not together, especially at an event that would likely mean more to Meghan than Harry, but for Harry to arrive solo, it was also a rare moment because Prince Harry was actually presenting an award versus accepting one. So we should acknowledge that too. Like, let's give him a pat on the back. But this is, Kevin Costner's big event. It's his beachfront estate where he holds this concert for Santa Barbara County first responders. Last year, I wonder if you remember this, there was the awkward moment when Meghan was there, and there was almost a tug of war between her and another woman on stage for the microphone. And it seemed as if the microphone wanted to give the woman wanted to give the microphone to Prince Harry. And so we're being told through the mirror that Meghan was sick. But a part of me also wonders, was Meghan's experience so negative last year, on top of some of the things we've discussed so far about Prince Harry distancing himself? Could Meghan have wanted to stay home because she was embarrassed last year? That clip went viral of her fighting over the microphone.
And that's not the only one, Kinsey. Now that you mention that, that recalls to me, there was this famous polo match, like maybe a year or 2 years into their relocation here. His great friend Nacho Figueroa was playing, and they were awarded the trophy, and Meghan forced her way into the photo frame and was trying to grab the trophy away from like the polo player who won it. I mean, she is shameless. It's just like, gimme, 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 gimme. And I think that she is seen as such a liability. And it really makes me wonder about the fracture in their relationship. It seems like a substantial one. She loves a camera. She's a heat-seeking missile for a camera. If she were really sick, this may sound very cynical, but I really believe this. If she were really sick, we know exactly what she had. She is such a drama queen. Is it the flu? Is it pneumonia? Is it COVID-19? Is it some sort of personal thing? We would know. She loves to play the victim. I don't think she's sick. I think she's hiding her face.
Wow, that is so true. I'm so glad you made that point. One of my favorite headlines to come out of last weekend's event was singer Richard Marx accidentally ignores Prince Harry at Kevin Costner's charity event. That wouldn't happen with Meghan Markle in tow, would it? I mean, this was Meghan Markle's scene. And like you just said, she finds the camera.
Exactly. And I love that moment when you watch Richard Marx sort of coming off the stage, descending the stairs, and he like does a double take because somebody's there. And it just sort of actually shows you, like, without the pomp and circumstance of the royal family, the sort of charisma vacuum that is Prince Harry. All that he's ever really garnered attention for stateside is whinging and moaning about his victimhood, how evil the royal family is, how poorly he's been treated. Are they racist? Maybe, maybe not. Depends on the day. The Todger detail, the frostbitten penis with mummy's cream. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. So he's clearly spending his time in New York working on image rehab, right? He's really trying to recenter himself as a serious player in major policy decisions on the world stage.
One guest in the video said it perfectly. We're watching a soft separation unfold in real time. Let's talk fashion. Meghan's been wearing nothing but neutrals for the past year, and now we know why. She's trying to rebrand as a minimalist style icon, copying Carolyn Bessette Kennedy. But here's the thing, you can't copy authenticity. Meghan's beige on beige wardrobe isn't elegant. It's empty. She's trying to erase her royal past and relaunch as this serene California wellness queen. But her energy, it's giving brand confusion.
Yeah, a thought leader. That's a very good point. So let's talk about them in New York, or him in New York, because he is without Meghan Markle. This is over a week, I think he's going to be away from Meghan and the kids. He attended a charity dinner on Sunday night hosted by the World Health Organization. The World Health Organization in a room with Prince Harry is a room that I would pay not to be in. He spoke to a crowd and urged for more help for kids facing corporal punishment, bullying, and online violence. Vanity Fair's Katie Nichol made the point that because these were Harry's initiatives, maybe that's why Meghan set back. But you and I both know how outspoken Meghan has become about online bullying. So that's why this doesn't make sense to me. He's also there to work with the Diana Award, the Halo Trust, Travelers in African Parks. You made such a great point that this might just all be a PR exercise. Can you spend 1 week in New York and change everybody's perception of you after 4 years of dogging your family and admitting to drug use, encouraging drug use, showing that you are so ungrateful to your elderly grandparents and violating your sister-in-law's privacy?
I know. I mean, those are all such great points, Kinsey. And I definitely don't think it's going to happen within a week of sort of, keeping your head down in service of others and trying to make amends without necessarily saying you're sorry. But I think it's part of a building block that Harry is attempting. Charles is sick. He has a window here. If he does not find some sort of reconciliation with his father, he will be completely frozen out when William becomes king. So he, I think, is really working very hard. And I think he understands that the deal is clearly, if he wants back in, he may have a way, but Meghan is not welcome and never will be welcome. And I think this is what we're seeing begin to play out. I don't even know if he's fully cognizant that this is what he's doing, but I think that this is really what he's doing. He is so desperately unhappy in Montecito and so desperately lonely and is missing a sense of purpose. He just turned 40. That's a landmark birthday. He clearly must be going through a midlife crisis and wondering what the purpose of his next 40 years will be.
Don't you think it's strange that they disappear for months at a time and then we're kind of hit like a hammer when it comes to, it's almost like overexposure. And what we find out about him is that he is only ever seen really in Montecito walking his dog. They're never spotted at things like the grocery store. They're spotted at the expensive steakhouse as long as they're there with I can't even remember who is the Catherine's husband who was married to one of the girls from the Real Housewives, who was I'm spacing on his name, but he's like a very respected musician and
David Foster.
But they say
I had to go back in my file of facts too, my mental file of facts. Yeah.
But they say that maybe you might spot them at an expensive steakhouse. You might spot Harry riding his bike with a Range Rover full of security right behind him, walking his dog on the beach. I'm listening to you talk about this midlife crisis and how lonely he must be. And everything we hear about his life in Montecito, it adds up to what you just described. And did they have to disappear for months at a time to build up their energy, to work up their energy, to work up their anxiety to come out like this? Because when you talk about this like these building blocks of PR, that's what I think Columbia is. I think that it's just pretty pictures and pretty video because they want you to believe that they're living a life of service, when in reality, Meghan's trying to sell us jam.
Oh, I know. And they're also grasping really for relevance, for cultural relevance, for political relevance. Harry already had that built in. It was baked in. He was a member of the British royal family. It was her brilliant idea to flee in the middle of the night and start over from scratch because she thought that his titles would mean that Hollywood would roll out the red carpet and she would succeed in ways that she never had historically before. And when you're talking about their life in Montecito and, how they get sort of photographed doing these things mostly on their own, it made me think of how every time I see a picture of Meghan Markle, we note that she's sort of wearing like $40,000 worth of clothes and jewelry, and she never looks like it. She's always
Yeah.
dressed in like clothes that look like overnight oats. She's like, they're wrinkly, they're baggy, they're ill-fitting, they're designed to try to make her look taller. You know, she's wearing tons of jewelry for day, and it all just screams nouveau riche, desperation, tacky Real Housewives adjacent. David Foster makes total sense.
And remember, she claimed the royals banned her from wearing color. 4 years later, she's still dressing like an oatmeal Pinterest board. The irony is painful. Her team is evaporating. Stylists gone. Social media managers out. Her business ventures, American Riviera Orchard, is a punchline. The jam jars were mocked online and the website is dead. She tried to relaunch with Love, Meghan on Netflix, but the guests turned her down. Beyoncé? Nope. Taylor Swift? Passed. Dolly Parton? Didn't even return the call. She's now stuck interviewing Chrissy Teigen, one of the most cancelled celebs on the internet. She's posting solo pics. Staged beekeeping shoots. It's all one big hollow performance. Meanwhile, Harry's pulling away. That's not a coincidence. That's a message.
This is the meanest thing I've ever thought. But sometimes when I look at her, I think, Mike, because you're right, these headlines are wild when you think about the amount of money that she's got draped on her body in jewelry and clothing. And I think you look like you work in management and an Ann Taylor warehouse. That's not the way you're supposed to look. It's
You're
very like,
so right.
I mean,
You're
it's
so
and she
dead on.
she is capable of being sexy. Like to me, like she's a beautiful woman. And so sometimes I'm like, what in God's green earth is she trying to tell us in the clothing that she wears?
I think that she's really doing it on her own because any stylist worth their salt would have gotten her cleaned up many moons ago. I suspect what's going on is she's like, okay, I'm going to do Succession style stealth wealth. So I'm going to dress in a color palette that spans beige to gray. And I'm not going to wear maybe overt logos, but I'll wear like a Cartier band that's worth like $30,000 and a Diana ring and like some dangling tendrils and call it a day. And she's completely off the mark by every conceivable metric. She's a mess.
I keep seeing, I kept seeing these headlines that she had poached Adele's stylist. And I'm just like, but how? But where? I see no change. And don't forget, this is one of my favorite, because, hypocritically, they are stars. But remember in the Netflix documentary when she told us that the royal family would not allow her to wear color, that she was not allowed to wear color in the royal family because they were afraid she would stand out. And it's like, okay, here we are 4 years later, and you are still wearing nude. All you wear is nude, white, gray, like you said, black. Like it's your time to shine. Like, go for it.
Such a great point, Kinsey. Such a great point. So like she was too bright of a shining star. They had to hide her light by banning color from her wardrobe, which is a total lie. We've seen the photos of her at Christmas time in bejeweled clothes, like that sort of deep jewel tone, rather. I think one of the final appearances she made as a working royal, she was wearing that Kermit green. Remember that green dress with like the weird cape and then like the fascinator that was like tilted? So she's totally full of it. She's such a liar. And I think that she's tried to sort of now model her American Regency on like a Carolyn Bessette Kennedy look, right? Like a 90s minimalism look. And it doesn't really work for her. And I just think she can't get anybody decent to work for her because she's now so well known as a bully who wants to get yelled at all day. You're trying to make somebody look their best. And she's just going to like make your life hell. Why would there's not enough money in the world? There are plenty of other clients out there for stylists to attend to. They don't need the likes of this one.
Absolutely. All right. At the end of this week, we know Prince Harry is heading, according to Tatler, Prince Harry is heading to London to attend the Well Child Awards without Meghan Markle, who hasn't set foot in Britain in 2 years. Harry was just in the UK in August for his uncle's funeral. He's been patron of the Well Child charity for 16 years, attends this event regularly. And this is one of the few organizations that he kept in contact with after he stepped back from royal duties. So this charity obviously means a lot to him. We talked earlier about how sources said it was really important to Meghan that she look like she was supporting Prince Harry. And when you think about how much the Well Child Awards clearly means to him, do you ask yourself why she doesn't support this in the same way that she supports Invictus? Or is Invictus several days where she gets several outfit changes, so it's a little bit more Meghan time, and that's why she might put more effort into Invictus?
That's a great point. That is a great point. And they have had so many missteps. I don't know if you remember, but they were invited to, it was around this time last year, the premiere of a movie about Bob Marley. And she showed up dressed like it was the Oscars. Everybody else was like dressed up, but appropriately so. And she was like in a full ball gown and hair and makeup. And then they were sort of striding, and she, of course, was in front because she's always leading him around like a household pet. And she's striding so confidently to the front row. And they're like, oh, excuse me, ma'am. Like, you're not only several rows back, you're in the middle of the aisle. The indignity. So, I think that she's very, very, very suspicious and aware that she might be knocked down several pegs when she attends these places. He is still clearly welcome. He is still clearly wanted in a lot of rooms. And he is sort of banking on goodwill that he built up as a working royal. She, on the other hand, is just a complete loss leader and has been since day one.
Harry's not stupid. He knows the palace door is closed to Meghan but cracked open for him. So what's he doing? Quietly cleaning up the mess. He edited Spare. He's trying to reconnect with Charles. He's attending solo events that are diplomatically significant. This isn't about duty. It's about survival. And maybe, just maybe, it's a long game to get back into the fold even if it means leaving Meghan behind. This story parallels Meghan's PR strategy perfectly. RFK Jr. is accused of smearing a female journalist by painting her as unstable. Sound familiar? It's the same tactic used against Meghan's critics. Label them sexist, racist, unhinged, anything but accurate. But as Maureen Callahan says, these are savvy, professional women being silenced by powerful men. And Meghan? She plays both sides, the empowered feminist and the eternal victim. But eventually people see through it. Let's connect the dots. Meghan's being called a bully by Hollywood insiders. Harry is showing up solo. The palace is cautiously welcoming him back, but not her. The Netflix empire is cracking. The branding is flailing. And the silence? It's louder than ever. This isn't a happy marriage. This is a calculated unraveling. And the question isn't if they'll split, it's how messy it'll be. Alright folks, if you've made it this far, you know the truth bomb has landed. If you think Meghan's downfall is just beginning, hit that like button, subscribe, and drop a comment below. Do you think Harry is planning his exit, or will Meghan strike first?